We understand the death toll is now 41 and no longer 26. News Central's correspondent on the ground, Mana Balagbogbo, has been tracking this story and joins me now for a situation report. Also joining in is the Kogi State Commissioner for Agriculture and Food Security, Timothy Ojomah. Let me start with you, Mana. Thanks for the coverage so far. Let's begin by extending our condolences to the people and government of Kogi State. Mana, as of last count, the death toll was 41. Any further update? Are bodies still expected?
Yes, Felicity, good evening to you. I must tell you that the state government under the Kogi State Emergency Management is looking to ensure what he told you earlier today was that they are doing everything possible to ensure that everybody is uncovered, that they dig deeper and ensure that everybody is is accounted for. So that is still ongoing, and I'm sure by tomorrow there'll be more updates as search continues.
The emergency agency has said the accident was not unconnected with flooding and that the boat hit a tree trunk, which would ordinarily not happen if water level was at its minimum. Also, considering the current toll, what are the biggest challenges you would say are currently facing rescue and recovery efforts?
I think the biggest challenge, of course, this is on water, so there has to be a lot of care, given the fact that Mokhtar made mention to me earlier that the water levels are rising, and all care has to be taken and to ensure that people are safe while also trying to uncover these bodies that have been submerged in the water. So it's really a lot, and of course there's so many stakeholders that are working with SEMA. The head of operations in Abuja was also around, Abubakar Zekeri. I spoke with him earlier today at the State Secretariat here in Lokoja, and they are cooperating, working, and also calling on other stakeholders who are non-governmental. I've also been speaking to the Red Cross. They have some of their volunteers in Ibaji, and they're just trying to, cooperate together to ensure that they account for every person that is submerged in water so far. So, like earlier reported, 63 persons, were rescued, and the bodies are the ones that they are after now, just to ensure that they are able to account for every one person. And we'll keep on updating the figures as it has been reported. Back to you, Felicity.
Back to you in a bit, but let's bring in the Honorable Commissioner now for his thoughts on what's going on. You have been to Ibaji, that's where you're from. What can you tell us about the immediate steps that the Kogi State government is taking to investigate the cause of the accident and maybe hold those responsible to account?
Foremost, I want to sincerely appreciate Nigeria, starting with the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Ibaji Bola Tinubu, who has, in his usual fatherly manner, expressed his condolences to the governor and the people of Kogi State. And I want to sincerely appreciate him for that. And the overpouring condolences to the victims and the people of Kogi State. By all Nigerians, I sincerely want to appreciate that. Yes, Kogi State government, under the leadership of Alhaji Ahmed Usman Ododo, the servant leader, has been so prompt in dealing with any issue as it relates to the state, not just ugly incidents, any incidents. You recall the state is reckoned with, turning the tide of things. In agriculture, you see us turn the tide of things. So the state government promptly sent the rescue team who were on ground as soon as we heard the ugly incidents. You recall the thing happened on the 30th of September, the eve of the 65th independence of Nigeria. People with their usual, excitement to witness another celebration were crossing to Edo State, in particular, to go and serve their food items and byways to celebrate the independence. Unfortunately, the ill-fated boat capsized at the middle of the river. So His Excellency promptly sent a rescue team led by Thema. NIWA was on ground. That's why I started by appreciating the President of the Federal Republic. NIWA were on ground. Like it was mentioned, people with life jackets actually survived. The ill-fated boat carried about 80 persons, children, women, and youth in their categories. You know, the Onuba community is along the river Niger. It's just a stone throw. That is where they go to bathe, they go to wash, they go to fetch water for any of their shores. And so the people, the confidence they always have over time, obviously would have made some persons not to take a precaution, as in putting on a life jacket. Right. So the panic that ensued, especially as it happened at the middle of the river, and you know this is a flooding season. The bank of the river were flooded. Obviously, you expect the river to be very, very wide, and happening at the middle of the river simply means several persons and some persons in a
Honorable, I will come back to you in a second. I just want to get one quick information from my colleague, then I'll do a follow-up with you. Mona, one major thing that was talked about was the use of life jackets, and the commissioner just mentioned that those who use life jackets survived. What did the people tell you about compliance with these safety rules? One other thing that the NEMA talked about was the condition of the vessels that plied the waters and enforcement of this rule. What did they tell you about that?
Well, Felicity, they did not say anything about the vessel in particular, but all they told me, just like the Honorable Commissioner mentioned, was the fact that those who wore life jackets were safe and they were able to rescue all of them. But those who did not were the ones, you know, that's just so sad. Some of them are missing, and while other bodies have been recovered. But one thing that they told me was that the boat hit a tree trunk. And, you know, as the water levels are rising, you would expect that some of these trees, they're all covered up with water. I just recall all the time on the 12 reports where I went to the Kabawa community in Lokoja, and I showed, and I found the camera to show you that set of lands, I mean, people's farms all covered up with water, including very tall trees, all covered up. So when you have a boat carrying 80 persons and it's moving on the water, there is a slight possibility that it could hit something, either a tree or just a rock or something that would normally be revealed to you if it's not covered up with water. So it's just the sad situation of things that happened at that particular point on the water.
Mona, I asked that question because I wanted to confirm from the Honorable Commissioner, this is not the first time that we're having a situation. In fact, every rainy season, Kogi is in the headline for, you know, situations with flooding and the aftermath that comes with it. In the presser that was given by the Commissioner for Information, there was talk about collaboration with the federal government to enhance waterways safety. What can you tell us prior to this moment? What has been done to create further awareness on the importance and imperativeness of wearing life jackets by those who ply the waters and other measures that NEMA has brought to enlighten people?
Well, Felicity, I can tell you for a fact that there's been a lot of awareness.
No, Mona, the question is for the Commissioner, not you, please.
So issue of compliance to the use of life jackets and creating awareness, I want to say categorically here that the state government, under the able leadership of Alhaji Ahmed Usman Ododo, has been so conscious of the fact that Kogi State, many parts of Kogi State, during this season especially, will have issue of flooding. The waterways, you know, Kogi State is a confluence of both River Niger and River Benue. Obviously, both the river converge. At this time, there will be excess water. And as such, the awareness on movement of people, especially living along the coastal line to move to safety has always been there. There is a committee that is set up, led by the deputy governor himself. Before flood comes in, always meet and always sensitize the people, telling them they need to move to safety.
Will there be stricter? I'm sorry to interject, but I'm told we have we should actually wrap up this conversation. So quickly, should we expect a stricter enforcement measure for people to follow safety protocol for those who will continue to need to use the waters?
Yes, there is. All we do is to reawaken the existing law. There's a state law that prohibits anybody that fly on a waterway from compels them to use life jackets. So there is such a law. In the local government, Ibaji local government, for instance, there is equally a bylaw that everybody using the waterways, Ibaji is the local government that over 80-90% of the entire local government will be submerged during this flood season, as we speak. So the law has been enacted long time ago. What we are saying, life jacket, the provision of life jackets, I want to use this medium to appreciate the federal government through IPADEC. And IPADEC supplied a life jacket to the local government, to the state, sometime early this year.
I guess I will expect more of that so that more people can have access to these life jackets. That's the much time we have. Thank you so much for sparing the time to speak with us, Honorable Commissioner. And Mana, always a pleasure. Thank you for bringing us update, although it was not on a happy note. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.